Beep, beep. All right, so this is the Drupal Cross Initiative call for March 28th, 2019. And we're gonna start about media, I guess, because Adam was first.
Okay, so media, regarding media, me and Adam Balsam and Sean and Wim got in a call this morning to sort of look at our roadmap. Sean has spent a few days pruning the overall roadmap for the media initiative and for media library, so we have a much cleaner sense of like what's done and where we need to, what we still need to do. And what I need to do is I need to have a couple of meetings at DrupalCon. And I know, Gabor, you put out an email, I think on the Acquia email listings, asking for people to say what meetings they had. I know that was like 2 weeks ago, but now I know what meetings I need. So one is that I need the subsystem maintainers of media plus one of each type of committer, so product manager, framework manager, and release manager, to discuss the migration path for media and from file and image fields. And that has to be at DrupalCon. Before that, I want to have a call with just the subsystem maintainer so that we are all on the same page about what we would like to do on that front. And then we want to sit down at DrupalCon, or, I'll be there. I think most of the others are not, but we all want to sit down and hash out what we're actually going to do, because we do not have any more time to kick this particular can down the road. So we have to figure out.
What were the three people that you said, Adam? You said product, framework, and what was the third one?
And release manager. So that would be that would be like, an Angie, an Alex Pot, and like a Catch or something like that, one of each at least. And we have to figure out what the migration path will be and how we're going to approach that. And the subsystem maintainers will come to you with some sort of unified idea of what we'd like to do. So that's one we're going to need to do at DrupalCon. And we really need to have a decision on that, I think, coming out of DrupalCon. The other one is a technical thing. So I don't think we need committers, although a framework manager might be useful. Probably people like, Amatisku or Berdier, if they're going to be there, would be really helpful. And that's to discuss what we're going to do about when you embed a media item into some other content. You want to like override the alt text for just that particular embed. This is a thing that we're pretty sure people are going to want. And Core has no API for doing anything like that. And we just don't know how we're going to approach that. So we want to come up with like a technical plan for how we're going to make that happen, hopefully in 8.8. So that's one. And yes, as I say, framework manager would be useful there, possibly a product manager. But mostly we need subsystem maintainers and people who maybe know the entity system or know embedding. Wim might be good for that. So I don't know if I have to, what I have to do to schedule those meetings, if I have to do that at all, or if I, can get, I think the committer time one is probably the one that needs to be scheduled by someone else. But I can try to round up a round table for the embedding stuff. And that's pretty much that in terms of the meetings that we need. Another one that might actually be useful, and I don't know if we're actually going to do this at DrupalCon, is to talk to probably entity API people to discuss what to do about private file access. But I don't think that one necessarily needs to be scheduled. I just have to like bother people and just be like, hey, are you going to be at DrupalCon? Want to talk to us about some stuff? So yeah, TLDR, I need 2 meetings at DrupalCon, one with committers.
What's the problem with private file access that you're trying to find a solution for?
It's not necessarily just private file access. It's the fact that like when you are embedding a media item in something else, and then the something else that you've embedded it in is like unpublished. So it's like, okay, people can't see this media thing, right? But the problem is this other thing over here, which is published, might have embedded the same media thing. And so, it's kind of like, and we just have to kind of be sure we understand collectively what, if that's a problem for users, and if it is, how do we mitigate it or explain it or document it, or what we do about that? Because that is a thing that happens with media that does not happen with normal files and images, which are absolutely like part of the thing that contains them. Whereas media kind of have their own existence and are reusable. So that's the thing we would like to have some sort of idea on, but I don't think we necessarily need committers at DrupalCon talking about that.
Okay, so to summarize, you're putting together meetings to tackle a few specific challenges around the migration path, around APIs for overrides of alt text, and file privatization mismanagement, essentially.
Something like that, yeah. Okay. I think the most important one is the migration path, and the reason I say that is because that one is specifically something that blocks the media module from being included in standard. So that has to be resolved.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we have a general media module path to core meeting. Is that the right one, or should we split it to multiple meetings for it to be more focused? Or should we just invite people to have enough authority to talk about the migration path to that meeting?
Sorry, I don't think I get it. We have one already?
Yeah, we have one media path to stable or core. So let me find the right. I have too many browser windows, but I will eventually find the right one.
I think that the media migration path one should probably be its own meeting, just because there are so many opinions about that and different kind of, like, some people think we need a migration, other people think we shouldn't do a migration at all, or do it in contrib, or like solve the underlying UX problem. And so I think that one we might want an hour for that too. Okay. Talk just about that.
Makes sense.
And that's what we got. Other than that, we're very happy with 8.7. Yay.
Okay. What's next?
Who arrived next? We usually do that. So I think either Michael or Fabian arrived next. I don't know which one. And get to Fabian. For pure alphabetical reasons.
Okay, I thought that was not I thought Michael was first, but it's okay. So for CMI, there's not that much new compared to last week. So the issue that I talked about last week got a comment from both Catch and Xtreme, though that was before I had time to update and the issue just to be super verbose here. Do I have a link now? No. Okay.
Can I just catch everybody up? When I'm taking these notes, I'm looking for your successes, your challenges, and your next steps. Just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm trying to capture for the recap.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody's aware of that format that I'm trying to keep up with.
Yeah, so the status is still the same. We need this issue, which I can copy paste in Slack, the 3036193, the export storage, which is RTBC, which according to Catch could still go in 8.7 committed, but otherwise, as I said last week, it will just be more of a rush than for 8.8. Then, similar to what Fan Proximus just said about the meetings, I also missed or misjudged probably the need for meeting, but I'm not as sure of exactly what people need to be involved. If we want to have the environment or the config environment module in core and how, like the path to get it to stable. I don't know if we need to have this meeting already at this DrupalCon or if then the next one in Europe, but I think it would be good to talk to someone with more authority to decide what kind of the outlines need to be, because adding this environment stuff is a bit akin to like adding multilingual to core in a way that we currently don't do any of that, and now we kind of open the floodgates to all sorts of edge cases, and we need to define like which ones we want to be dealing with and which ones we don't, and what should be the like what is the assumption that we can make, and what kind of user experience we want to cater for, and what is left for contrib.
Yeah, I think you need this meeting now because the next DrupalCon is the end of October, and that's after 8.8 alpha is already released.
Okay, yeah, then
it's way too late for 8.8 in the next DrupalCon. So you need this meeting now or sometime. I mean, you could also have the meeting at Dev Days in the summer, but definitely before the next DrupalCon. You need to have this meeting. I think the sooner you have, the better to set direction and to be able to actually work on the directions.
Yeah, I think then it's best to have it now, and then in Dev Days we can focus on actually getting more stuff done. Like my hope was that we could already get a good chunk during DrupalCon done, but I think it would be good to have someone that can like set or help us set the direction, or like, so we don't make something and then it's like, oh, but actually you can't do that. So we discover kind of like what gates we have before we implement something that doesn't fit.
Can you give me that issue number again? Because I think I wrote it down wrong. I had 3036193.
I'll copy it here.
Thank you.
6193. Yeah, it's the export storage. This issue, as I explained last week, is just so that we can update Drush and Drupal console and all the other projects that do configuration management outside of core to be prepared for the upcoming changes.
Okay, so your next steps are to set up the meetings at this DrupalCon event, or maybe at Dev Days at the latest, that you can continue the conversation and make some decisions around what your priorities are going to be for these edge cases.
Yes.
Cool. Anything else? Any other successes you want to talk about?
No, everybody's been busy at work and busy preparing DrupalCon, so not really anything in particular.
Do you already have a list of these edge cases somewhere? Or is that being compiled prior to the conference, or is that something you're going to do?
Yes, I'm going to prepare that for the presentation. Right now, it's mostly the issue queue of config split, actually.
Okay.
Like most of these edge cases appear there because config split is kind of currently the solution that people go to.
Okay, so you've got a list kind of in the works, and then you're going to have these discussions to decide what's highest up on our list, what's top of the pile.
Yes.
Okay.
We already have, we made a list at last Dev Days and in Drupal Europe, like sort of the outline of what situations we want to support. But within this situation, or like within this situations, there's different workflows that you can do, and you can run into different problems with like updating things and deploying things. So I'll make a nice list of problems. I think I have them in the last talk that I gave about this topic. All right.
That's good.
All right. Thank you. Michael.
Anyways, not a ton to report on Migrate. So we had mid-camp last week. Lucas, one of the other Migrate maintainers, and we got to sit down with Mike Ryan, one of the former Migrate maintainers, who is currently working on a generalized PHP migration API, and a few other stakeholders in the Migrate system. We had some good meetings. The generalized PHP library that Mike Ryan is working on definitely looks like something that might have potential to integrate into Drupal in the long term. You know, I'm talking Drupal 9, Drupal 10 type stuff, but not something that we're looking at in the immediate future. We were hoping to sprint and get the last few multilingual issues done during mid-camp. but it turned out Lucas ended up working on the Umami Spanish demo, which is amazing, and I ended up doing a lot of deprecation and Drupal 9 stuff, so we didn't get really any sprinting done on the multilingual stuff. So because of that, we are not looking currently at stabilizing multilingual for 8.7, although we are going to continue to work on the last few issues in that area and try and get them into 8.7 to the extent that we can, anything back portable. And then let's see, our challenges are currently still just trying to get reviewers for multilingual patches as they come up. We lost with Marcus and Marcelo, we lost a couple of our really good multilingual reviewers. So I think Lucas has reached out to a couple other people that have good multilingual skills and understand the APIs currently that's helping us review. But we're going to keep working on those issues. What was the third thing you're looking for your notes?
Next steps.
Next steps. The next steps are that to try and get these multilingual issues done so that we can call it stable for 8.8. And then the big push on 8.8 is deprecating the Drupal 6 sources and moving those over to a contrib project. So that'll be a big project as well. So, and I think that's it.
Okay, so I guess that was in part a report of Umami and in part a report of Migrate and in part a report of Drupal 9.
Can I just ask a quick question, because you rambled off a lot there. It was great, but I missed one thing.
Sure.
You printed on the Umami Spanish demo. What was the second thing that you got to work on? You said that you were working on Drupal 9.
Oh, yeah. Well, Lucas and I were both originally planning on sprinting on Migrate stuff at mid-camp, and then we kind of got there. He's multilingual. He speaks Spanish, and he was just more useful getting the Umami Spanish demo working. And I've been doing so much with the Drupal 9 stuff that I ended up sitting at that table and getting Symfony 4 compatibility going and getting some deprecation stuff handled. So we just didn't sprint on Migrate. We sprinted on those two things instead.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that's also usually the nature of local events, that the people who want to come in and contribute, they may not know what to work on, and lower hanging fruit like Umami is great to get them involved. And people who would otherwise work on whatever initiative, they would just go and help them and get more contributors. Okay, so I can report on Umami first, because we talked about that. So Umami got the full Spanish translation landed earlier this week, so that's going to be in the beta. Every recipe, every article, and the one single page that's in Umami is translated to Spanish. They have a language switcher, and this is enabled by default on all Umami installations. We looked at, with the Umami team, I tried to help them figure out a way to make that optional, but there's no real way of the installation process to give options from an install profile before it actually installs. Like, you can provide options once it's installed, but before it's installed, there's no way in the installer to provide provide things to make things optional. And then having multiple profiles would be very painful, because core does not provide inherited install profiles, so you would need 2 copies of the install profile. I think Adam knows that quite well. He's been working on an issue to fix that. So every Umami install profile is multilingual, and we can iterate on this later if we don't like that. I've also worked with the Umami team to keep the layout builder patch warm, in case layout builder module becomes stable, that we can immediately commit the layout builder patch for Umami, and the recipes would use layouts. And then you would be able to immediately use layout builder UI with the Umami recipes right away. And that may or may not happen for the beta, depends on when things get committed and tagged. So that's it from Umami, I think. There's no other results from Umami, but that's quite big. And then for Drupal 9, is great. I think Mike did a very great job on the Symfony stuff, and some even landed in core already. So we are getting very close, but it's still not going to happen in Drupal 8.7. So Symfony 4 support is going to land hopefully early in 8.8 based on the state now, which is huge because we need more people to test that out and see what happens there. On the Drupal.org side, I worked with Ryan from the DA. He rolled out some Jenkins updates to parse the PHP stand deprecation testing results on Drupal.org. And that broke testbot again. I worked with him 2 weeks ago to do something similar with the Jenkins updates, and that broke testbot. And now 2 weeks later, he was reluctantly trying out a few Jenkins plugins, and that broke testbot again. So both of them were disruptive for the preparation of the alpha and the beta. So people got pissed. So that was not a good thing. Doing multiple parallel things to the infrastructure while we prepare a release. But we wanted to do something for DrupalCon so that there's better visuals from Drupal.org for deprecation testing. But since that broke testbot, that got disabled again. So there's still the raw XML file from the deprecation report on Drupal.org if you enabled that in your project. We'll see if we can make that more visual. I created a patch to put some CSS on the XML file, but that unfortunately, so if a browser displays an XML file with some CSS, it does not allow you to search. It looks like an HTML page because it's nice and visual and everything, but it does not actually allow you to search in the page or to copy paste out of the page because it's an XML file. So, and I tried it in multiple browsers. So that's not really good. I mean, you can look at the results, but you can't do anything with the results to like find things in them or copy them elsewhere to work on them. Nope. So that's why we tried to do the Jenkins plugin. So we'll see if we can do something with the CSS, at least as a stopgap, or we just leave the XML as it is. Because tomorrow is the GitLab rollout on Drupal.org, and that's certainly going to have fallout that they may need to deal with next week. So I'm not very positive that anything much else will happen to PHP stand on Drupal.org before next week. But we tried. So that's that. And then I worked, and then the Midcamp people worked on actually using the local version of PHP stand, Drupal check. And they submitted bug reports to a lot of contrib modules, not bug reports, but tickets, issues to a bunch of contributed modules with the reports. And different project maintainers reacted very differently to how that went. Some project maintainers welcomed that there was a report. Some project maintainers got very angry because now that's a to-do list that they considered it something for them to do. Yeah, and some project maintainers won't fix the issue, and then they realize that, okay, maybe this is actually an opportunity to involve more people to work on my module and understand it, and like new beginner contributors by like do this search and replace and fix some issues in this module. Yay. So some people finally understood that after some nodding and nudging, and some people immediately understood that. So if we continue to do that kind of stuff, we need to somehow improve the process of how the issue is opened and the accompanying text, etc. But it's not a bad idea to do, I think. And the documentation on Drupal check got highly improved also thanks to Midcamp, because they wrote this documentation and that got into the project page on Drupal check. And that's going to be very helpful. So that's also great from Midcamp and Drupal 9. And then I was working with Zoltán Herzog in Hungary to build a UI module on top of PHP stand. And that's looking quite good. I think Mike also tried that out on a site of his own. And Birdier tried it out and found some problems with the composer setup. And Zoltán has been fixing the issues as they got reported. So I also just, before this meeting, I tried out a Composer setup of the site, and it works and it runs, and I found some issues in the module itself, so we are getting better and better in how it works. And we've seen Zoltan demonstrate that module earlier today, and it basically collects all the projects on your site. It groups the contributed modules into projects, and then runs deprecation testing on them and saves the report, and then you can look at the reports.
Hello.
And
I'm in the middle of taking notes on a meeting while people are discussing things. I can't talk very much. Okay, thank you.
and we hear you, Shannon.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I was on mute. Vince just walked in to say hi. I was like, hi. I'm trying to listen. Sorry, I thought I was on mute.
No. So so that sort of started working already, but there's a bunch of like rough edges to fix. We are working on, so the problem with the version that Mike tried out is it needs queues to be run outside of the UI with Drush or something. So Zoltan started working on a progress bar Ajaxy thing that runs the queue, and that raises a bunch of questions about the nature of the UI itself, and we may need to redesign the UI to support updating the data better as it comes back and refreshing the page with live data as it arrives and that kind of stuff. So as we work on developing it, there's a bunch of questions raised on whether the design is feasible or we need to change stuff. But hopefully this is gonna become better and better every day. Yep. I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, maybe. No. I think no, nothing else. That's it for Drupal 9 and Umami.
And I know things for multilingual and Drupal.org.
Yeah.
Busy.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that everybody? We didn't get to whom on this call. Angie, anything from you?
Other than 8.7 beta is in code freeze right now. Other than this one remaining layout builder issue, which is the one remaining layout builder issue. And so hopefully that means that layout builder will be a stable feature in Drupal 8.7. Would be super. That team has been working their ass off for ages. Sorry, I can't find it right now. There it is. So the one remaining issue in the list of layout stable blockers is 3041053, which is aptly titled Mark Layout Builder as a Stable Module. It's RTBC and just awaiting a release manager review. So, fingers crossed.
Awesome. Okay, that's everything.
Indeed.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.